we've already got a Windows that uses React for its start menu, totally doesn't steal all of your data and puts multiple AI buttons in every single one of their apps. But could you imagine a version of Windows that is even more annoying to use? Well, imagine no longer, because Microsoft, well, they have something for you. This is from a leaked internal Microsoft video, which Zach Brodie of Windows Central has sources in Microsoft to claim that this is a real Microsoft video, something codenamed Project Aion, maybe better described as Copilot OS. So let us take a look at the video in question. The first frame is already off to a fantastic start. Don't you worry, it only gets better from here.
Aion is an example of a web-based agent OS that natively builds Copilot into the core of the shell. Built from a modified version of Microsoft Edge, it's able to run as a desktop replacement to your Windows 11 device and can run natively on Win3.
So, a few things were already stated there, and you can probably tell by the way this visually looks. There is something they're going for here, effectively a Microsoft Chrome OS. Edge is their browser. Edge is built off of Chromium. Effectively doing Chrome OS with Edge wouldn't really be that difficult. Now, they also mentioned something known as Win3 there, and at least based on the public information, it's not exactly clear what Win3 is supposed to be. It's obviously not Windows 3.0 because it's not Windows 3.0. According to the article and according to the sources, this is a stripped-back version of the Windows codebase that does not include support for legacy Win32 apps. Now, what does legacy Win32 apps mean? You might think Win32, that means 32-bit apps. Partially true. Win32 means the Windows API. This includes both 32-bit and 64-bit x86 apps. Again, going into this effectively being Microsoft Chrome OS, you are running web apps. In exchange for this, you're going to get faster updates, longer battery life, and better security. Again, Microsoft Chrome OS. Before we get back to the video, there is a few things worth noting. This video is likely a few years old at this point, according to sources, somewhere around 2024 or so, and it's also unclear exactly what the purpose of the video was, whether it was part of some sort of internal hackathon, whether it was just like throwing around ideas, or whether it was something more seriously being pursued that ultimately ended up being scrapped or merged into various other projects they might have. Also, with this being from around 2024 or so, there is some important things that happened around then. Going back to 2023, that is when Copilot was first introduced, and then a few months later, we had the Copilot key and these Copilot PCs. This is when they first started to really push the idea of Copilot as this core part of Windows, this core part of your workflow, starting to add that Copilot button into a ton of different apps on the system. Now going back to the video, but let us play that last couple of seconds again.
Edge. It's able to run as a desktop replacement to your Windows 11 device and can run natively on Win3.
Both Win3 and regular Windows 11. I assume in the Windows 11 version, you'll be able to run your regular, Win32 apps, but I do wonder whether some of these ideas have been now sort of brought into mainline Windows rather than having this whole separate version, which a lot of people just wouldn't even bother installing.
The heart of Aion is the AI-driven Copilot start menu, powered by Sydney, Avalon, a custom version of Codex and native integration of your M365 graph.
So, Sydney is something you probably haven't heard of in a while. This is the AI chat update they added to Bing back in 2023. Nowadays, all of it's just been called Copilot, but that was the original name they were using. Avalon, this is an early codename that was used for WPF. If we go back to the really, really old documentation for it, you will see references to Avalon in here. Also, whilst Codex was released publicly for the average person in 2025, it was available to developers as far back as 2021. and Microsoft was investing in OpenAI all the way back in 2019. So them having early access to Codex, talking about it internally, making use of it internally, not really that surprising.
Copilot Start is a singular experience that pulls together the latest from your M365 feed, your favorite tools including native support for websites, Meta OS, and PWAs.
Okay, that's enough. This is very much an internal video. It's just throwing out terms without defining anything. So Meta OS is another term they haven't really used in a while. This was being discussed well back in 2020, and they were never really clear on what the idea actually was. The way that I understand it, though, is they were trying to create this, I guess, high-level abstraction away from the lower-level operating system, so the user would only need to effectively care about what they want to do, not what they would need to do it. So basically leveraging AI to automate a lot of that underlying workflow, this very agentic-driven way of working, which nowadays is a more common idea being thrown around. Back in 2024, though, most people weren't really talking about that. It was more of this like theoretical idea that seemed like could be possible eventually.
Textual suggestions and previous conversations, all at the press of one button. Copilot Start includes a multimodal Omni-box, which lets you browse the web, run a tool, and more.
A lot of this stuff is already in modern Windows. That's sort of the direction they've been going with the search box for a long time. Now, for a long time, it's been pretty terrible, but, you know, that's something already kind of in Windows.
It includes...
Just make it even more AI-powered. Everything you search goes into the AI.
Autocomplete and auto-suggest to help you complete requests faster. And using a local orchestrator will route questions to the consumer or enterprise versions of Copilot, depending on your context. Notice how actions you take from the Copilot Start menu instantly morph to become its own window on the desktop. And
basically, it's saying you can open up additional chats and they become new windows. It's going to say it in a lot of extra words.
Taskbar. Even chats become their own window, including an AI-generated icon, allowing you to...
Now, I'm pretty sure this icon they're using isn't actually AI generated. I would assume maybe long-term that's something they would want to do. These are way too clean, especially for back in 2024. What was likely happening is they had a list of valid icons, and then based on the context of the specific chat, the AI would determine which icon would be best to use.
Multitask with Copilot.
And then as you can see down here, it is making use of the icon that it had selected. Very much not an AI-generated icon at the time. I can't imagine anything they were working with would have been that clean.
Easily.
Again, 2024.
The Omni-box also supports context IQ. So whenever you type a slash, you can tap into the power of your M.
So we have both our contacts here, but also references to our documents. Again, this is going into that Meta OS thing where you don't really need to think about where this information is necessarily coming from. Just you can access all of the information from anywhere on the system.
365 data. By elevating all these items.
Now, it seems to just be doing a general web search on this person rather than going through your email context. But I can imagine they probably wanted to do a lot more with this. This is just like a basic demonstration of the idea.
Items, including each website.
Maybe even they would integrate with like Facebook and things like that. So you could be like, oh, what is this person doing? And then it would search Facebook, it would search Twitter, search all of these other platforms, and then bring you that information.
That you visit directly to the taskbar. Aion breaks down the traditional app-centric grouping approach all operating systems have today.
So down the bottom here, you can see all of these different things, which are effectively just websites, but they could be separate applications. They're being grouped together because they're all relevant to the context they're discussing here, which is trying to find a trip. So you have this TripAdvisor stuff, you have the searching for this. All of this is treated as this singular task you're trying to achieve, rather than worrying about the applications involved in achieving that task. Which, of all the ideas being discussed here, is probably one of the things which I don't actually hate, and I think is kind of a good idea.
You and the system can now organize your work into spaces that represent your goals, and not grouped arbitrarily by apps. Spaces are powered by Silverstone.
Now, I tried to find what this Silverstone is. I found obviously Silverlight, which is their competitor they used to have do Flash. I don't have any idea what Silverstone is. We're not talking about the PC hardware manufacturer, completely different Silverstone. I'm assuming this is referencing some sort of new API for doing this grouping, some sort of new AI system for developing that maybe. Or it could just be some sort of code name they haven't ever mentioned publicly. It's not really clear.
And
Also, the article doesn't mention it either.
items within them are contextually grounded, helping make AI more tuned to giving better responses. And since every item is driven by edge, Aion can crawl the DOM of each site to understand the full context of the content and not just the visible pixels.
Everything is a web app here, so if the AI can crawl a website and then every app on your system is a web app, well, that kind of makes it perfect for just finding everything that is going on. It doesn't need to do this like computer vision, which is something they had been discussing with Copilot. You know, the whole idea of, oh, you can remember in Copilot what you were doing and then find the context within that image. That's something that came a little bit later. This is sort of the proto version of that idea. So that's another thing which I think has kind of been repurposed into regular mainstream Windows.
Spaces are automatically saved, so with a tap, you can instantly close one space. And from the Copilot Start menu, you can easily reopen a prior space and pick up right where you left off.
This is another one of those things which I don't think is a terrible feature. This is effectively custom, easily restorable groups. Actually useful. Now, the AI stuff surrounding it to make it all work, maybe we can talk about that as less useful, but that specific idea I don't hate.
While Aion is entirely web-based, there are times you will need the power of Win32.
Get ready for it, because this is one of the reasons I wanted to make this video.
We make this easy with Windows 365 Handoff. When we detect a site you're visiting has a Win32 app available in Windows 365, simply tap the Handoff button and Aion will seamlessly remote in that app with your content ready to go.
Who needs to run your applications locally when everything can be done in the cloud? Oh, you need to access the desktop version of the application and you happen to not have an internet connection right now? Sucks to suck, doesn't it? This is a very much internet-driven experience.
We've also introduced rich, interactive plugins into the conversations you have with Copilot. Need to send a summary of this to a coworker? Just ask.
I would imagine with this, you'd be able to create your own sort of integrations with whatever applications and workflows you might want to use. You'd probably be able to download them from some sort of integration store, probably in some way connected to the Microsoft store. They'd probably be able to charge for it as well if you really wanted to. All of this being powered by your own little agent. And again, nowadays the idea of these agentic-driven workflows are becoming more well-known, are being used by people. But back in 2024 was just not really an idea that at least mainstream was really that well known about. And I don't even know if the AI at the time would have really been able to actually do it in an effective way. Nowadays, we're at a point where it is dangerously good for a lot of tasks, but things are moving very quickly in this space, and 2024 was a long time ago. So maybe we wouldn't even be seeing something like this until around about now, and that honestly might be part of it, right? A lot of these ideas are very much making their way into other things.
And
also do note the whole
interactive email
this thing
control
down
is
here.
generated and will automatically populate a draft based on the context of the space.
If you weren't sure it was from 2024, it was from a few years ago. The idea of, oh, get the AI to write in various sort of funny different ways. Undead pirate captain. Oh, that's definitely so useful. Nowadays, everyone's kind of like gotten over the sort of, I guess, amusement, the novelty of, wow, I can have the AI write in weird different ways. But at the time was still something a lot of people were very much entertained by.
And with a tap, the message is sent all while staying in your flow. To learn more about Aion, please visit aka.ms/Aion.
That is a domain that is owned by Microsoft. If you try to go to it, you will not be able to get very far. So if you really want to, try it out. But I'm telling you now, you won't get very far with it. Microsoft did recently outline Project Solara. This is an agentic experience that lives in your pocket. As they say right here, it's an OS designed to be invisible, hosting an agent shell that can dynamically load and tailor multiple cloud-based agents. It's not a platform that runs traditional apps, but rather AI that can interface with services and tasks on your behalf via an adaptive access layer that the user interacts with. In many ways, that does sound similar to what is being discussed here. Now, this idea was obviously for a desktop-based operating system, but ideas at a company as big as Microsoft often get pieced apart and put into various other projects along the way, rather than just being entirely what was initially being proposed. And with that, we don't know much else about what was going on here. So how does the idea of effectively Microsoft Chrome OS powered by Edge, where everything is a web app and everything is agentically driven? You don't worry about what is an app, what is not an app. All you care about is workflows and interacting with your AI and letting the AI do all of that boring stuff in the background. I know for some people, this probably sounds pretty appealing. However, I feel like for a lot of the people watching this video, they might have a very different opinion on it. So let me know what that opinion is, and is this something you would like to see? And do you think that more of these ideas are just going to make their way into regular Windows and probably other operating systems as well? Let me know. So, if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon Scribes Daily Bearer Pay linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and Microsoft, Microsoft, Microsoft.
Something like this.